We are live.
Yeah, I guess they already identified me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, man.
I'm like a drone up there. That's cool. I didn't know. That was somebody else's drone. I didn't know it was like a drone.
It's the most biggest Chinese media.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The oath of office ceremony is about to begin. Please take your seats.
Someone said we're here with you. I'm filled to while they're shouting. Rapan over there.
Yeah. Recuerda que acabando te vas a colgar y vamos a marcar.
我只能这样两个人。
也没有下去，他们是不能跳的。脚不忍是自己可以吗？现在才把那个。没有，那个女的现在在上班。2点半出发。
Tradición con los 19 disparos que hace la Guardia Nacional para posteriormente sobrevolar el área aquí en el Capitolio, esto como modo de celebración y de honor precisamente al gobernador y vicegobernador Abbott y quienes en unos momentos van a realizar su presentación en su segundo término. Este es un evento que comenzó a planearse desde el 1 de diciembre y hoy desde muy temprano se dio movimiento aquí en el Capitolio, en donde decenas también de periodistas están presentes de diferentes partes de la nación, pero sin embargo también políticos de diferentes partes están presentes aquí, así como la comunidad, quienes tuvieron la oportunidad de poder comprar un boleto que costó $10 y no solo les va a dar oportunidad de poder ver esta ceremonia de juramentación, sino que también se van a poder llevar al festejo que es después, en donde se va a realizar un barbecue, como ellos se le llaman, y todos van a poder estar conviviendo y viviendo en los patios del Capitolio. Ahorita lo que se tiene planeado, no sé si podemos ver imágenes donde ya va a comenzar esta ceremonia de juramentación. Precisamente vamos a escuchar que va a hablar primero el portavoz de la Casa de Representantes, sin embargo, a la bandera y posteriormente, bueno, pues van a continuar con estos discursos que van a dar cada uno de los invitados que están presentes para después el vicegobernador de Dan Patrick será el primero que dé su discurso y tome juramento en este segundo. Posteriormente será el gobernador Greg Abbott de Texas que va a dar su discurso así como también su presentación. Aquí nosotros estamos esperando en este momento que comience esta ceremonia en donde hay bastante seguridad desde muy temprano. Vimos como el Departamento de Seguridad Pública, se está encargando precisamente de todo lo que es acordonando el área y pues la organización para que todo marche sobre ruedas.
Okay, so he's handling it? Okay.
¿A mí?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the posting of the colors presented today by the Texas Military Department Joint Color Guard.
Not yet.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
Sí, 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 te escucho, pero ahorita todo está en silencio. No sé si voy a poder hablar. Permítame. Sí, sí.
Chair of the
Aquí ya
Senate
estoy lista,
Inaugural
estoy esperando que
Committee,
pase
Senator Jane Nelson.
porque nos pidieron silencio.
Chair of the House Inaugural Committee, Representative Morgan Meyer. Althea and J. Bruce Bugg. Mindy and Jeff Hildebrand. Nancy Ann and Ray L. Hunt. Chief Justice Nathan L. Hett. Judge Dawn R. Willett and Tiffany Willett. Shane and Jared Scruggs. Judge Ryan Patrick and Zachary Patrick. President pro tempore of the Texas Senate, Senator Kirk Watson. Dean of the Texas Senate, Senator John Whitmire. Speaker of the Texas House of Representatives, Dennis Bonnen and Kim Bonham. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick and Jan Patrick. Governor Greg Abbott and Cecilia Abbott, accompanied by their daughter Audrey Abbott.
Oye, ok. Sorry que no podía hablar mucho, ¿eh?
Please stand as Scout Troop 201 from Longview leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I salute. Those not in uniform, please place your right hand over your heart. Please remove all non-religious headgear. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2.
Please remain standing as the University of Texas Band plays the national anthem. Please remain standing as Dr. Anu Couture leads us in the Texas Pledge.
Please join me in the Texas Pledge of Allegiance. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
The Senate will come to order. A quorum is present. The House will come to order. A quorum is present. The two houses have convened today for the purpose of inaugurating the governor and the lieutenant governor. The invocation will be delivered by Rabbi Kenneth D. Roseman.
Good morning. We gather here this morning to celebrate something that we might otherwise take for granted. We celebrate our governor and lieutenant governor, other high state officials, members of the state of Texas's legislature, and yes, also the men and the women who serve behind the scenes as their aides and staffs. We celebrate the fact that all of them are willing to devote their time and their energies to the noble profession of enhancing the welfare of the citizenry of this great state. They don't have to give their lives to serve us, but they do. It's a glorious choice that they have made. Their dedication and commitment to public service is a very special boon for those of us whose well-being they seek to enrich. It is a dedication for which we, their beneficiaries, express a most heartfelt gratitude. We ask an equally special blessing upon them and their endeavors. May they be granted wisdom and insight and strength from the eternal source of goodness, and may they be rewarded by a sense of satisfaction and accomplishment at having pursued the paths of decency and righteousness. Yet when the winds of winter have blown across the wheat fields of the Panhandle and the prairies of our public purposes, let us remember that the privilege of public service is accompanied by the realities of responsibility and the unceasing commitments of conscience that flow unabated like the rivers that descend from the hill country to the Gulf's coastal plains. Even as we pray for blessings of the most fortunate sort, so too we beseech from the Almighty the benedictions of forbearance, generosity, compromise, and the ability to appreciate the ability and the outlook of even those with whom we disagree. As we celebrate the satisfactions of achievement and the rewards of responsibility, we conclude with these words from the biblical psalmist, Adonai oz le'amo yitem. May God grant strength to those who strive to be godly people. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. May God bless those who strive to be godly people with the ultimate blessing, the blessing of shalom, of peace. Amen. Thank you.
The oath of office will now be administered to the Lieutenant Governor, the Honorable Dan Patrick, by Justice Don Willett.
Lieutenant Governor Patrick, are you prepared to take the constitutional oath of office?
I am.
And place your right hand on the Bible, raise your left hand, and repeat after me. I, Dan Patrick, do solemnly swear
I, Dan Patrick, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of Lieutenant Governor of the State of Texas,
of Lieutenant Governor of the State of Texas,
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state.
and of this state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It is with great pleasure that I introduce to you the Honorable Senator Jane Nelson and the Honorable Senator John Whitmire.
I'm Senator Jane Nelson, the longest-serving Republican in the Senate, and I am joined by Senator John Whitmire, the longest-serving Democrat. In the spirit of bipartisanship, we are honored to introduce our Lieutenant Governor. Now, Senator Whitmire and I have served a combined 62 years under 6 different lieutenant governors. We've seen a lot over that time, but nothing compares to the rise of Dan Patrick, from a freshman senator to a 2-term lieutenant governor. He was elected in 2006 after a successful career in the private sector, and he brought that keen business sense to the Senate. Under his leadership, we cut taxes and enacted policies that supercharged the Texas miracle. In 2013, then Senator Patrick was appointed chair of education. As a former teacher, I admire his commitment to our students and our teachers and our schools. He led the fight to reform testing. He secured funding to bring internet access to rural and inner city districts, and personally raised over $16 million for children with disabilities. Dan Patrick is devoted to his faith and to his family. His wife of 42 years, Jan, their children, Ryan and Shane, and their 5 grandchildren. Now, you've heard the expression, a player's coach. Dan Patrick is a senator's lieutenant governor. He was the first sitting senator elected to this position since 1963. He respects our traditions, our history, and he understands that for the Senate to succeed, every senator must succeed.
Yes. I wouldn't be up here if I disagreed with you. Oh. How do you introduce someone who needs no introduction? Senator Nelson just did an outstanding job of doing so. I'd like to use a minute to thank Lieutenant Governor Patrick for his public service. You see, Governor Patrick and I believe that service is a calling. We believe that God has placed us in our elected positions to improve the lives of all Texans, to make Texas a better place to work and live for all Texans, Republicans and Democrats. I can't emphasize enough how helpful it is that the Lieutenant Governor served in the Senate before he became our elected Lieutenant Governor. It helps the Senate and the state of Texas every day because he understands the challenges of being a Texas state senator. He helps us each day to be better senators. I just wish someone would have told me in 2007, when Governor Patrick was sworn in as a governor, that someday we'd be swearing him in as a lieutenant governor. I promise you, I would have been a lot nicer to him on the Senate floor. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for Senator Nelson and me to present to you the Honorable Dan Patrick, the Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Texas.
Well, please be seated. I thought that was an Oscar moment for a second. They weren't sure who was pulling the winning name out of the envelope. I had a reason to ask both of them to introduce me today. And the reason was, in Texas, we're different. We work together across the aisle in a way that, quite frankly, both parties in Washington could take a note from. We work together for the people of Texas because that's what you expect us to do. The elections are over. And in 2 more years, there'll be another time to talk about the differences between the parties. But for right now, in the next 140 days, you expect us to do the work of the people. This may surprise you because you probably haven't read it in the media. But last session, we passed nearly 1,600 bills in the Senate. And although we have a 2/3 majority in the Senate, and some might think the Republicans would roll over the Democrats, out of those 1,600 bills, only 23 bills passed with only Republican yes votes and Democrat no votes. That's 99% of the bills with bipartisan support. I want to say something briefly about Jane Nelson. I appointed her to the first permanent finance chair in a session. She was the first female to lead that most powerful committee, not because she was a woman, but because she was the best person for the job. And when you pass a $220 billion budget, you have to have someone you trust. And I trust Jane Nelson with the purse strings of Texas. John Whitmire, I asked him once, this is his 48th year. I said, John, don't you believe in term limits? He said 15. I said, well, you passed 15 a long time ago. He said, I said 15 sessions. That's 60 years, Governor. John, 12 years and you're gone. You're out of here. Before I begin my remarks, I want to introduce my beautiful wife, Jan, former school teacher. Please stand, Jan. My son, Ryan, U.S. Attorney, former judge, Ryan. One of my 5 grandchildren, the oldest, the rest are 4 and under, so they're home with some of the parents. This is Zachary. My son-in-law, Jared, also an attorney, and my beautiful daughter, Shane, who's a speech therapist and a registered nurse. Both my kids went to Baylor, so proud of Baylor. I also want to acknowledge 2 special people in the crowd I want to introduce you to. First of all, when you have an event like this, you need some extra security. So I said, you know what? Could you put a Texas Ranger behind me? So I called on Cordell Walker. You know him as Chuck Norris. Chuck has been a longtime supporter from my first run for office, a longtime supporter of the governor. He and Gene are great Texans. They have a great youth program at our schools. They're just wonderful, wonderful people. I asked Chuck what was his favorite Chuck Norris joke. He said, well, some are kind of out there, some are kind of funny. He said, but I do like that one when the boogeyman goes to sleep at night, he checks his closet to see if Chuck Norris is in there. And then I want to introduce to you an American hero. Last year, I was with him when he was inducted into the Aviation Hall of Fame, quite an honor at the Smithsonian. He flew on Apollo 7. 50 years ago, Apollo 7 flew. And for those of you who don't remember history, Apollo 1 burned on the pad. There was no Apollo 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 7 had to fly, or we would not have gotten to the moon as Kennedy envisioned by 69. He is the surviving member now of that 3-man crew. Walter Cunningham. Walter, please stand. Walt and Dot are great Texans, great Americans, real heroes. They love this state, and we love them. We've known them now for about 20 years, working with the charity that Jane talked about, to Be an Angel, where we've raised about $16 million for children with disabilities, and they've been with us all the way. So we love them. I want to thank Mindy Hildebrand. Mindy, please stand, my chair. Mindy, where are you? There's Mindy. Ray Hunt, the governor's chair. Please stand, Ray. Bruce Bug, our chair. They made all this happen with private money for no tax dollars, all right? Thank you all. Fabulous job. Martin Luther King is said to have said, some people say it was someone else, but I'll give him the credit. A person's life begins to end the moment they became silent on things that matter. A person's life ends the moment they become silent on things that matter. That's important to me. Those of you who know me know I've not been very silent on things that matter to me, and I believe most Texans, whether it was in my television or radio career, or as a senator or as a lieutenant governor. The people who elected the House members here and the Senate members here, they did not elect you, whether you're an incumbent coming back or a freshman, to come here and focus on the small things. They have hopes and dreams. And your actions in the next 140 days will determine whether their hopes and dreams become reality. I want my 31 senators to stand up. Please stand up. They're in the front. This is the team we go to war with. Republicans and Democrats. Please, thank you. You know, I came to our first inauguration in 2003. I was sitting out there in the crowd, like many of you are today. I didn't dream that in 2007 I would be in the next inauguration, or 2008, a senator. And I surely didn't dream that 2 inaugurations after that, 2015, I would be the lieutenant governor. I'm a kid from the hard-scrabble streets of inner city Baltimore. And how I got to Texas, only God knows. We've been here 40 years, and I'm so blessed. It's such a privilege. You know, when I grew up in Baltimore, I fell in love with Texas when I saw Fess Parker on Walt Disney as Davy Crockett, and then the John Wayne movie that I watched over and over and over as a kid. Little did I know that 55 years later, I would work with members of the legislature to put $75 million into our budget to help preserve our great Alamo. You know, all of us, I think when you get to Texas, how many of you have moved to Texas like me? Hands up. Whether you're a native Texan or you moved here, I think we all get a little of the DNA of Crockett and Travis and Bowie. We love liberty, we love life, we love freedom. We don't like anyone telling us what to do, especially the government. Woo! We are unique. When we travel around the world and people say, "Where are you from?" we don't say America, we say Texas. Woo! We say Texas. You know, we had a church service this morning and last night, and one of the pastors said this morning from Holman Baptist Church in Houston, he said, "You know, Dan, last year you shocked me when you said the name Jesus Christ in your speech. To deny my faith in Jesus Christ would be like to deny life itself." I respect all denominations and all faiths, but I believe that the people of Texas and America would like to elect people, regardless of their faith or denomination. They would like to elect people who believe in God, then believe they are God, to office, because that gives us the foundation to represent the people. If we represent Jesus Christ and our God, we will do our job to represent you. You know, John and Jane came up, and most of what we do is bipartisan. I mentioned only 23 bills out of 1,600 passed on a Republican vote. We have to work. We have to govern. We're the 10th largest economy in the world. 1.6 trillion, larger than that of Russia. They have Putin, and I have Abbott. We've had 2 great sessions. 2 great sessions. We passed conservative budgets. We built the reserve fund. We protected life, the Second Amendment, religious liberty. Sam Houston said, "A leader is someone who makes the lives of people better, or the system they live under better." And I will say to our senator and our House members, that is our job this session and every session. And I believe with the bipartisanship we now have and the teamwork we have between the Senate and the House, this is going to be the greatest session ever in the history of Texas. I want to bring up, and this is unprecedented, he's not a statewide elected official, but he has the power like a statewide elected official. Dennis Bond, the new Speaker of the House. Dennis, come up here. Why don't you ask the House members to rise?
Please. Would our House members please stand and be recognized for your service?
the moment you elected him Speaker, the governor and myself said we're there to help you be successful. That's our mission, to work together with the House. Last week, something happened that I only dreamed about in the past. The three of us would come forward at a press conference and lay out a vision for Texas. And so the governor's mansion, the governor and Dennis and myself said, we are united to work for the people of Texas. On three big issues, and the people told the governor and myself as we crisscrossed the state, we already knew in our heart and our soul what people wanted us to do, but we heard it loudly and clearly, and that was reform property taxes so they can live in their homes and own their businesses. Free taxes for seniors 65 and over so they don't have to rent their home from the government. Give teachers a pay raise they've deserved for a long time. And reform education. And reform school finance and Robin Hood. Border is important, transportation is important, healthcare is important, but the three issues that we talked about last week that we're going to focus on is property tax reform, school finance reform, and teacher pay. And I'm happy to say to you today that 1 hour ago, Senator Jay Nelson just filed a bill, Senate Bill 3, to give every teacher in the state of Texas all $350,000 and across the board $5,000 raise starting next year and continuing into the next year and continuing into perpetuity. And in about an hour, she will file her budget, and in that budget, that raise will be paid for with $3.7 billion of new funding to education, first to teachers, because next to the parent, there is no one more important than the school teacher. That's the first step in raising those salaries up to $10,000, along with other programs that schools we're going to fund so that they can create incentive programs, extra programs for teachers to make money. We have to put our teachers first. We have 6 million kids in Texas in school. The future of Texas depends on their education, and I don't care how much money we spend on a building or how much money we spend on a system or how many computers we have. If you don't have that great teacher there with that student, teaching that student, you will not have a successful outcome. We're putting teachers first. This session, it's been 20 years since they've had an across-the-board raise. We are at a point of great divide in our country. Passions run deep. Rhetoric is sometimes not what it should be. But here in Texas, we can lead to show the nation the way of how we work within our parties, because we don't always agree, Republicans are Republicans or Democrats and Democrats, and across party lines, to do what you expect us to do. Remember what Martin Luther King said. A person's life begins to end the moment they stay silent on things that matter. We cannot stay silent on things that matter. We have to lead. We have to make this the greatest place on earth, which I think we all believe it is now. But we have challenges. We're a fast-growing state. We've added 10 million people in the last 18 years. We'll add another 15 million in the next 20 years. So we need serious people to make tough decisions, to be courageous. Abraham Lincoln said about courage and character, almost any man can stand adversity. But if you want to see a person's true character, give them power. Well, to the 181 members of the legislature, in both parties, in both chambers, you now have the power. You didn't run for office to go quietly in the night. I was saying I didn't come this far to only come this far. The prize is not winning. Winning the election and being here today is just the beginning. I'm going to do my part. Working with the speaker, working with the governor. We have the small window in time to set the stage for future generations. The challenges are tough. The decisions will be tough. The solutions are not easy. It will cost billions, and we can only spend what we have. But we must get us on the path to an even greater Texas than we are today. Thank you for this great honor. I'm so blessed. I'm so fortunate. I love Texas. I love America. I love my family. I love my Lord. And I love this day. God bless all of you. Thank you.
The oath of office will now be administered to the governor, the Honorable Greg Abbott, by Chief Justice Nathan Hecht.
Thank you, sir.
Governor Abbott, are you prepared to take the constitutional oath of office?
I am.
With your hand on the Houston Bible and your family Bible, please repeat after me. I, Greg Abbott, do solemnly swear
I, Greg Abbott, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office
of
Governor of the State of Texas, and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and this state. So help me God. Congratulations.
It is with great honor, a distinct pleasure and privilege to introduce to you His Excellency, the Governor of Texas, Greg Abbott.
Well, thank you, Dennis. It is an honor to take the oath as governor of the greatest state in the United States of America. But listen, we gather today for far more than just an inauguration. Today is the dawn of a transformative session that will usher in a new era for our students, for our teachers, and for our taxpayers. This will happen because of my partners here today. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, Speaker Dennis Bonnen, and all of the members of the Texas Senate and Texas House. We are going to get this done. And it is a blessing to embark upon this mission with my lovely wife, Cecilia, by my side. A fabulous mother of our daughter, Audrey. Cecilia is a powerful advocate for Texas, and she herself made history as the first Hispanic First Lady in the history of our great state. Now, I can't let this moment pass without first thanking a very large and diverse family. Especially, I want to thank my father-in-law, Bill Phelan, for being with us here today. Unfortunately, health prevents the most famous mother-in-law in Texas, mi suegra, Maria de Luz Segura, from joining us here today.
I ask that you keep her health in your prayers tonight. And I also want to thank my brother Gary and his wife Denise. Gary is a retired commander from the United States Navy. He served our nation for 20 years. You know, we must never forget that we have freedom to build a better Texas only because of the men and women who have served in our United States military. If there is anyone among us who has ever worn the uniform of the United States military, would you please stand or wave your hand so we can thank you for your service to our country? Now, some people say that Texas is at an apex. They rightfully point to the fact that more Texans have jobs today than ever before. In fact, Texans created almost 1 million jobs over the past 4 years. And we set record lows in unemployment. And Texas remains the unrivaled national leader in agriculture, in energy, and in exports. And we dominate fields like healthcare, technology, and finance. The fact is, the Texas brand of opportunity attracts more of our fellow Americans to the Lone Star State than any other state in the country. Well, despite the exceptional heights to which Texas has risen, I believe we have only climbed to the foothills of what we can become. I know that we can do even more for our fellow Texans. More to educate the next generation of students and to keep them safe at school. We can do more to advance our universities to meet the changes sweeping the 21st century. More to rein in a property tax system that is a burden on our citizens. More to help our coastal region become resilient to catastrophic storms. More to crack down on human trafficking and the dangerous gangs promoting it. All of this we can do. All of this we must do. Because we live in the greatest state in America, and we have an obligation to make it even better. Now, no doubt, Texas has reached an unrivaled economic summit. But from that lofty perch, it's clear that too many young Texans are having difficulty on their own journey to prosperity. Holding them back is an education system that is not adequate. It is not adequate to put our students on the pathway to the excellence that they deserve. Now, yes, we have more students graduating from high school than ever before. But at the same time, more students are graduating ill-prepared for either college or a career. Our students deserve better. Our teachers deserve better. Our taxpayers deserve better. It is time for Texas to deliver on real education formed in Texas. And the good news is that we don't have to look far for solutions. 2 years ago, Teich Elementary was one of the worst schools in Dallas. A year later, all of that has changed. Get this. Out of 145 elementary schools in Dallas, Teich was rated near the bottom, ranked 132nd. In a year, it rose from being ranked 132nd all the way to being the second best elementary school in Dallas. Five years ago, the Dallas Independent School District had 43 failing campuses. Today, they have just 4. And behavior is better. At Teich Elementary, for example, school suspensions have dropped by almost 90%. So what changed? Well, a new principal was hired, and he brought in highly rated teachers and set clear standards for the students. He added people and policies that improved student success. Well, know this. Teich Elementary is not an isolated example. Other districts in Texas, like in San Antonio, in Lubbock, in Far San Juan, they've all achieved similar results using similar strategies. These achievements were possible because of bold leadership by superintendents, by school boards who broke the mold, making tough decisions to prioritize student achievement. We must ensure that destiny is not determined by zip code. Students from the most challenging circumstances have proven that they can perform at the very highest levels. But we have the obligation to give them the opportunity to do so. But understand this. Success like this is not going to be achieved just by spending more money. It will be achieved by recruiting and retaining educators who deliver better outcomes for our students. So today, we must dedicate ourselves to making our schools better than they have ever been. This session, we must act as the Lieutenant Governor has already taken a step to pay our teachers more. We must reward teachers in school districts that achieve these results. We must prioritize spending in the classroom. We must shore up the teacher retirement system. And yes, the state must invest more in public education. The eyes of Texas are upon us. We have the opportunity and the obligation to get this right. We can and we will better fund education in Texas. We will pay our teachers more and reward achievement in the classroom. We will reform a school finance system that robs from one district to pay another district. We will put our students on a pathway to having all third graders reading at grade level by the time they finish the third grade. We will prepare our high school students for either college or career, and we are going to do all of this without a court order telling us to do it. I want to make this very clear. We're going to do this session what no one thinks we are capable of achieving. We will finally fix school finance in Texas. So, while one generation is struggling to climb the ladder of success, others have a ceiling on how high they can go. A ceiling imposed by an archaic property tax system. A system that punishes families, punishes businesses, and prevents younger Texans from being able to achieve their dream of home ownership. Think about this. Just a few blocks from where we are right now, you see cranes operating above sprouting skyscrapers. In the shadow of those cranes are businesses that are shuttering, unable to keep up with skyrocketing property taxes. Go a few blocks further, and you'll find residents who are being forced out of their homes, victims of unaffordable housing, a byproduct of those same skyrocketing property taxes. This is not what Texas is all about. Texas is a place of hope and opportunity, where anyone has the ability to achieve their dreams if they're willing to work hard. But that promise that Texas offers is threatened by out-of-control property taxes. And listen, as you all know, the property tax system challenges are not unique to Austin. I've talked to people from Laredo to Amarillo. I've talked to people in suburbs as well as in inner cities, and they all demand property tax reform in Texas. As a woman from Waco recently told me, she said, "Governor, something has to be done. Some homeowners in the poorest areas of Waco had their home values doubled by the appraisal district." She asked, "How is that honest or fair?" The answer is not. So this session, we must finally rein in skyrocketing property taxes in Texas. Now, some people say we can't afford property tax reform. I say we can't afford not to reform a system that punishes homeowners, crushes businesses, and cripples our schools. Listen, a state as prosperous as Texas shouldn't punish seniors who've worked their entire lives to retire in a home that they've already paid off. And it shouldn't force middle or low income Texans out of the neighborhoods that they cherish. To fix this, Texas must limit the ability of taxing authorities to raise your taxes. At the same time, Texas must end unfunded mandates on cities and counties. And taxpayers should be given the power to fire their tax appraiser. Now, some cynics say that we can't solve these intractable problems. They're too expensive, too complex, too political, too hard. The cynics forget the legendary Texan resolve. The resolve of heroes who fought for Texas liberty while remembering the Alamo. Well, that resolve has been passed from one generation of Texans to another generation, through oil booms and oil busts, through dust bowls and devastating floods, through windstorms and billowing fires, from moments of triumph to horrors of tragedy. Generation after generation, Texans have been tested, and Texans have always prevailed. We live in a state where Texans have always tapped into their trademark resilience and ingenuity to rise above our challenges. We live in a state where the grandson of a slave was sold on the courthouse steps in Waco and yet he rose up to be Chief Justice of our highest court here in Texas. We live in a state where a little girl shuffled from foster home to foster home, but drew strength from by being raised by a grandmother in Houston. She went on to become the first American woman gymnast to win 4 gold medals in a single Olympics. And yes, we live in a state where a young man can have his back broken in half and still rise up and become governor of this great state. We will muster that same resolve, that same ingenuity to tackle the challenges of our time. And we are going to prevail this session. Together we are going to pay our teachers more. Together we will provide a better education for our students. We will make our schools safer for those students. We will tackle skyrocketing property taxes. We will help Texans recover from storms that have ravaged our communities. We will do this and more. Working together, we will ensure that every generation reaches their mountaintop. And together, we're going to keep Texas the greatest state in America. God bless you all, and God bless the great state of Texas.
The inaugural blessing will be delivered by the Most Reverend Michael F. Olson of Fort Worth.
Let us ask the Lord to invite us into his presence. Blessed are you, gracious God, source of all that is true and good and beautiful. You who delight in all people, we stand in awe before you, believing that the spark of life within each person on earth is the spark of your divine presence. Through your goodness to us, we live in this great state of Texas. Some of us born and nurtured here by your grace and wisdom. Some of us called from afar and delivered here through your mercy and providence. Each and all of us sustained here together in fellowship and solidarity by your justice and love. We give you thanks for the lives of our governor and lieutenant governor and of all of our elected officials. We thank you for their generosity and willingness and that of their families as they offer themselves in public service. May you bless them generously for their selflessness of spirit. Bless us as one people with the fortitude to seek the common good for all members of our towns and cities, of our counties and state, of our nation and of our world. Deliver us as one people from selfishness and distrust that would foment fear and incite violence within our homes and in our communities. Protect us from all who would do us harm through lawlessness and violence. Instill in us as one people your spirit of integrity, that we might do our part in diligently exercising our own personal responsibility for the betterment of our society. Bendícenos como un solo pueblo, con el deseo de libertad y justicia auténtica, promovida por el amor al prójimo y protegida por el Estado de Derecho. Líbranos como a un solo pueblo de la apatía y el cinismo que nos dividen y ahuyentan a las sombras del aislamiento y la apatía moral. Inculca en nosotros como un solo pueblo el espíritu de la compasión que nos incomode en el cuidado de cada persona humana en su realidad social y no ver la humanidad en el abstracto y en el vacío del idealismo. Gracious God, we entrust to you our governor and our lieutenant governor, our legislatures and our judges. Bless them as our public servants in their responsibilities of government, with the fortitude to be humble in their sincere commitment to the unity of action required for the promotion of a just social order. Keep them in sound health, in mind and in body. Deliver them as our public servants from temptation to sin in any way that would do damage to our development as one people in fellowship and solidarity. Instill in them as our public servants a spirit of confidence, that they might lead us in deed as well as in word in the direction set for, that by your guidance for a better society marked by the dignity of human flourishing and concern for our neighbor, for the poor, and for those who live in the margins of our society. Bless them with wisdom and right judgment, that they might, through their decisions, strengthen our state in the present moment with an eye toward the future development and peace for generations yet to come. Deliver our public servants from impatience with the complexities of government. Instill in them your virtue of prudence, that they might see, judge, and act within the proper balance of eternal values and present needs for the sake of your peace. And we ask all of this with confidence in your name. Amen.
The Texas A&M Singing Cadets will now perform Who Are the Brave?
Praise
Dr. Terry M. Turner will now deliver the benediction.
Shall we bow? Most holy and eternal Father, we are grateful, thankful for these godly men that you've given to this state of Texas to lead us, to guide us, to direct us. We ask, Father, that you would bless them in your very own special way. Give them wisdom by the power of the Holy Spirit, that all that they do will be pleasing in your sight. We thank you for their service. We thank you for their commitment. And we thank you that we recognize today that all authority has been ordained by you. And we recognize today that you have put them in place. And we love you for what you've done in their lives. And we thank you for what you're doing through them in the state of Texas. In the name of Jesus. And now if you'll stretch your hands toward our governor and our lieutenant governor, and we will give the benediction from the 24th and the 25th verses of St. Jude. Repeat after me. Now unto him who is able to keep you from falling and to present you faultless before his throne of glory with exceeding joy. To the all-wise God be glory and dominion, both now and forever. And everybody said, amen.
Governor Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Patrick have asked that I invite everyone to enjoy a Texas-sized family barbecue on the Capitol grounds. And now, ladies and gentlemen, upon adjournment of both houses, please remain in your seats for the exit march of the governor and the lieutenant governor and their families. The purpose for which this joint session was convened having been completed, the Senate stands adjourned until 11 a.m. Wednesday, January 16th, 2019, according to a motion previously adopted. The purpose for which this session was convened has been completed. The House will stand adjourned until 11 a.m. on Wednesday, January 16th, 2019, according to a motion previously adopted. Thank you.